Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, entitled The Status Quo, Chapter 2, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. We're going to do 3 verses today, 31 through 33, and that's actually number 32 that's on the board. So because 31 doesn't have a purport, I'll read it myself, and then we'll do 32 and 33. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So first I'll chant through text 31, and then we'll do 32, which is on the board responsively. So text 31 is Vipanam Vishapanena Negriya Bhujakadipam Utapya Mayayad Gavas Tattayam Prakriti Stitam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were perplexed by great difficulties because a certain portion of the Yamuna was poisoned by the chief of the reptiles, Kaliya. The Lord chastised the snake king within the water and drove him away. And after coming out of the river, he caused the cows to drink the water and proved that the water was again in its natural state. So in this chapter entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna, Uddhava is speaking to Vidura. Vidura had met Uddhava and inquired from him about transcendental knowledge because he understood that Uddhava heard Krishna as Krishna was getting ready to leave the planet. Uddhava heard the conversation that Krishna was having with his dear devotee. Excuse me, this is Maitreya. I got the two personalities mixed up. Maitreya is speaking to Vidura. He heard the conversation that Uddhava and Krishna were having. So Vidura, knowing that Maitreya heard that conversation, is asking about what did Krishna disclose? Transcendental knowledge did he teach at the end of his life here? So when Vidura asked Maitreya to please repeat what Krishna said, Maitreya went into a trance. And when he came out of his trance, he started remembering Krishna. And when we remember Krishna, by remembering his Leela, we're automatically remembering everything else about him, his name, his form, his qualities. So before Maitreya gets into discussing the transcendental knowledge that Krishna spoke, he's in ecstasy just remembering different pastimes of Krishna. So that text that we just read, 31, is about Krishna chastising the Kaliya serpent who tried to, well, he did poison a certain section of the Yamuna, causing the cowherd boys and the cows to not be able to drink the water or play in the water. So now we're going to do texts 32 and 33. 32 is on the board, so please repeat. Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Tasya Charubarasya.
Tasya Charubarasya.
Tasya Charubarasya.
Tasya Charubarasya.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Tasya Charubarasya.
Tasya Charubarasya.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Please chant.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajan Dvijotamai.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Vitasya Chorubarasya.
Vitasya Charubarasya.
Chikishan Shadhyayam Vibho.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Goparajam Dvijotamai.
Vitasya Chorubarasya.
Vitasya
Charubarasya.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Chikirshan Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Gopara
Chikirsham Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Ayajaya Gosavena
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajam Dvijottamai
Goparajam Dvijottamai.
Vittaya Choruvarasya
Vittaya Choruvarasya.
Chikirsham Sadhyayam Vibhu
Chikirsham Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Ayajaya Gosavena
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajam Dvijottamai
Goparajam Dvijottamai.
Ayatirvarasya
Vittaya Choruvarasya.
Shirsanam Sadhyayam Vibhu
Chikirsham Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Ayajaya Gosavena
Ayajaya Gosavena.
Goparajam Dvijottamai
Goparajam Dvijottamai.
Vittaya Choruvarasya
Vittaya Choruvarasya.
Chikirsham Sadhyayam Vibhu
Chikirsham Sadhyayam Vibhu.
Anybody else? Word for word synonyms, please repeat. Ayajayat,
Ayajayat.
made to perform.
Made to perform.
Gosavena,
Gosavena.
by worship of the cows.
By worship of the cows.
Goparajam,
Goparajam.
the king of the cowherds.
The king of
King
the
of
cows.
cows.
Dvija Uttamai,
Vijayapurvai.
by the learned brahmanas.
By the learned Brahmanas.
Vitasya,
Vitasya.
of the wealth.
Of the well.
Cha,
Cha.
also.
Also.
Urubarasya,
Urubarasya.
great opulence.
Great opulence.
Chikirshan,
Chikirshan.
desiring to act.
Desiring to act.
Satyayam,
Satvayam.
proper utilization.
Proper utilization.
Vibhu,
Vibhu.
the great.
The great.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So I'm going to read the translation for both 32 and 33, because 33 doesn't have a purport, and then we'll go back and read the purport, because these two verses go together. Very fortuitously, these two verses are about Govardhan Lila,
Ooh.
which we had yesterday a celebration of, and we didn't get to have a class yesterday, so by Krishna's arrangement, these two verses have popped up today. Translation. The Supreme Lord Krishna desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda for worship of the cows. And also, he wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasturing land and the cows, with the help of learned brahmanas. Translation for 33. O sober Vidura, King Indra, his honor having been insulted, poured water incessantly on Vrindavan, and thus the inhabitants of Vraja, the land of cows, was greatly distressed. But the compassionate Lord Krishna saved them from danger with his pastime umbrella, the Govardhan Hill. So now we'll go back to purport. Since he is the teacher of everyone, the Lord also taught his father, Nanda Maharaj. You've perhaps heard the expression that you teach the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. Say a woman has a daughter, right? Teaching your daughter how to cook, let's say. And they make mistakes in the kitchen when they're learning. And you teach them, this is how you roll chapati, this is how you roll chapati, this is how you roll chapati. And now the daughter's in the kitchen and she's rolling chapati, and you say, what are you doing? You're making it too thick. I've showed you like 500 times how to roll chapatis. Stop that nonsense, roll it properly. You can get heavy with your daughter because you've got that intimate relationship. So you can be like cutting and tough love, And it works, it's no problem. But now say your son gets married, now you have a daughter-in-law. So now the daughter-in-law comes to the kitchen and you're teaching her how to cook because you want her to be able to cook nicely for your son because he's used to your cooking. And now the daughter-in-law is also doing a really bad job rolling chapatis. You can't do the same thing that you do with your daughter. You can't turn to her and say, "You nonsense, you don't even know how to roll a chapati. Like, what are you, 4 years old or something?" You know, you can't be like cutting and heavy. You have to be all sweet and gentle. It takes 10 times longer to do it that way, right? It's much faster to just be cutting. So one teaches the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. So both the daughter and the daughter-in-law are in the kitchen, and they're both making the same mistakes. They're both rolling lousy chapatis. But the mother doesn't correct or chastise the daughter-in-law. She just chastises the daughter. "What's wrong with you? You don't know, I've showed you so many times. This is how you roll chapatis, not like that." And the daughter-in-law, by hearing, you know, that exchange between the mother and the daughter, gets the lesson also. So Krishna does the same thing. He teaches the daughter-in-law by teaching the daughter. He teaches us, who are not so surrendered yet, you know, we're not like ready to accept the chastisement and the heavy, tough love. He teaches us by teaching his own devotees. So in Bhagavad Gita, he taught Arjuna. And by teaching Arjuna, and he was heavy with Arjuna in many places, he's teaching us. So he's teaching Nanda Maharaj that your wealth, you know, Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaj, had 900,000 cows. That's a lot of milk, and that's a lot of bulls plowing the field and making so many agricultural products. So he was teaching Nanda Maharaj that actually this wealth shouldn't be just used for our family. We have to take care of our family, but your wealth should be used for worship of the cows, for service of the cows. So that whole pastime of Govardhan started with Krishna convincing Nanda Maharaj and other cowherd men that instead of worshiping Indra, they should worship Govardhan. And by pleasing Govardhan and the Brahmanas and the cows, and ultimately Krishna, then all benefits will be there. So Nanda Maharaj was a well-to-do landholder and owner of many cows. And as was the custom, he used to perform yearly worship of Indra, the king of heaven, with great opulence. So as agriculturalists, this is, you know, harvest season right now in the autumn. And they understand that the only reason we had a successful crop this year was because rain came. We're not in charge of the rain. You know, God forbid if there was a drought, we would not have this opulent agricultural harvest. So he explained to Krishna, when 7-year-old Krishna asked Nanda, "What are you doing? What is this ceremony that you're performing?" Nanda Maharaj said, "We do this annually because it's harvest season and we're worshiping Indra to thank him for all the wonderful rain that he sent us. And by worshiping and pleasing Indra in this way, he will continue to send nice rain every year." You know, Prabhupada says if you don't pay your electric bill, don't be surprised that your lights get turned off by the electric company. So similarly, Nanda is explaining, if we don't pay our bill to those who provide us the sun and the wind and the, you know, the rain, those things might get cut off. So the worship of demigods by the general populace is also advised in the Vedic literature, just so people can accept the superior power of the Lord. One time a devotee asked Prabhupada, who's better? The Christians who have a monotheistic theology, or the Hindus who have a polytheistic theology? Of course, it's not really polytheism, but that's the modern common misunderstanding, is that Hinduism is polytheistic. Do you understand the difference, Abhi, between polytheism and...
Multiple gods and one God.
Yeah, so with polytheism, there's the belief that there's many, 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 many gods and they're all equal. Well, we're not polytheists. But now you might say, well, how are you guys monotheists? I see half a dozen deities on the altar, or some temples, a dozen deities. It looks like you got a lot more forms than one. So we are polymorphic monotheism. Morphic means form. So monotheism, one God, but polymorphic. He takes innumerable forms. Not that they're separate individual gods, right? That's a difference. It's a subtle but very significant, extremely significant difference between polytheism and polymorphic monotheism.
Yeah, we could maybe call theirs monotheism with no understanding of form.
Exactly. And it leads to Mayavad.
Mm-hmm.
So it can, a lot of times we meet people of Hindu background and they think they're on the same page with us. They come to the Hare Krishna temple, and some of our temples have more deities than here in New Taliban. They have Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, they might have Sita Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, Krishna Balaram. And they think, yeah, boy, we're on the same page, polytheism. They don't understand the difference between polytheism and polymorphic monotheism.
Mm.
So it's a very deep but subtle difference. So anyway, the Vedic literatures, so someone asked Prabhupada, who's better, the Christians who are monotheistic or Hindus who are polytheistic? And Prabhupada said, and they were expecting him to say Christians, and he said, no, the Hindus with polytheism, because at least they're acknowledging a superior force behind everything in nature. There is a God of the sun, a God of the moon, a God of the rain, a God of the, right, etc. Not that there's just us and God and nothing in between.
Yeah, it's really strange how when the Christian theology took over, they eliminated the personalities behind nature. Although they from their Jewish heritage, they acknowledge that there's, angels and, they acknowledge that there's some other personalities, but they just eliminated that there was personalities behind the sun, the moon.
Because I feel it's because the teachings of the Christian Bible apparently stress that, I'm God and you shall have no other gods before me. I'm a jealous God and you can have no other gods. So it's like they have material vision. Only spiritual vision can comprehend polymorphic monotheism. How can one soul be in different bodies? You have a soul, you're in that body, you're in that, we're all individual souls with individual bodies. But Krishna and his expansions can be one soul in many, many, many bodies, simultaneously polymorphic. Not that today I have this form and tomorrow I have another form, the next hour I have another form. Simultaneously, all those forms are coexisting eternally. So they can't comprehend that because they're using material logic. And it takes them to the point of saying, and you know what? You can't put a face on God. How dare you draw a picture of God? You're limiting him by putting a face on God, a form on God. Now you're limiting him. So they come to the point of, oh, well, the form of God is just something for us to meditate on because we need that, but then you got to go beyond that to the all-pervasive, impersonal God, which is in all traditions. So anyway, so here Prabhupada said that the Vedic literature does encourage demigod worship, just to get people to at least that platform, acknowledging superior powers behind everything in nature.
Can you text me that term later on?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So, the demigods are servants of the Lord, deputed to look after the management of various activities of universal affairs. Therefore, it is advised in the Vedic scriptures that one should perform yajnas to appease the demigods. But one who is devoted to the Supreme Lord has no need to appease the demigods. Worship of the demigods by common people is an arrangement for acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, but it's not necessary. Such appeasement is generally recommended for material gains only. As we've already discussed in the second canto of this literature, one who admits the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to worship the secondary demigods. Sometimes, being worshipped and adored by less intelligent living beings, the demigods become puffed up with power and forget the supremacy of the Lord. So that's a dangerous position. Some of us may feel attracted to the heavenly planets that, hey, I wouldn't mind living in Svarga, having some big important position, you know.
Mm-hmm.
In this world, we're looking for position. Don't think that when death comes, now all of a sudden you're purified of your desire to have position. Now it's like, well, let me have a position in Svarga, and I could be in charge of the rain or the wind or whatever. But Prabhupada says here, unfortunately, that's a dangerous position, because when you get all that worship from paltry human beings, you become puffed up. Prabhupada continues, this happened when Lord Krishna was present in the universe, and thus the Lord wanted to give a lesson to the king of heaven, Indra. Indra became puffed up. He, Krishna, therefore asked Maharaj Nanda to stop the sacrifice offered to Indra and to use the money properly by performing a ceremony worshipping the cows and the pasturing ground on the hill of Govardhan. By this act, Lord Krishna taught human society, as he's instructed in the Bhagavad Gita also, that one should worship the Supreme Lord by all acts and by all their results. That will bring about the desired success. The Vaishyas are specifically advised to give protection to the cows and their pasturing ground or agricultural land instead of squandering their hard-earned money. That will satisfy the Lord. The perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. End of Srila Prabhupada's purport. So Krishna was convincing Nanda Maharaj and the other elderly Gopas to worship Govardhan, because this would please Govardhan, the cows, the brahmanas, and he himself. And they ultimately agreed. At first they were a little hesitant. Oh, but Indra will be mad at us. God forbid Indra will be mad at us. But then they agreed. And they did do the worship of Govardhan. And it was very nicely done, very blissful festival. And don't forget, the day before they celebrated Diwali. And on Diwali, you know, you eat a lot of sweets on Diwali, big festival. And now today, Krishna's just engaged them in this huge festival where they had to cook mountains of food. It's called Anakut Ceremony, where you offer a mountain of food. He convinced them to offer this to Govardhan. Krishna manifested an unprecedented form on top of Govardhan, a personal form that could talk and move. And he declared, I am Govardhan. And all the residents of Vrindavan bowed to him, including Krishna. And he accepted all their offerings. And then they had a big feast, and they circumambulated the hill. They just had a great time. But it was 2 days of festivals in a row. Diwali was yesterday, Govardhan Puja today. So when the whole thing's over, they all go back to their respective homes with full bellies and hearts overflowing with joy. And, you know, like we've experienced when you have 2 festivals in a row, like Janmashtami and the next day Vyasa Puja. When that's over, we're like, I'm wiped out. I'm exhausted. I have to go sleep for 2 days. So they all went home to relax. And before they knew it, all of a sudden, everything went dark. Like somebody turned off the sun. And it became cold. And before they knew it, they heard this tremendous crack of lightning. They heard a thunder that they'd never heard before. And they're looking at each other like, what's this? There wasn't any rain in the forecast. And all of a sudden, before they could even figure out what was happening, sheets of water came pouring down, just unlimited zillions of gallons of water just pouring down, cold water.
What's that cloud called again?
Samvartika. It turns out that Indra was having a temper tantrum. He was so angry that the Vrajavasis stopped his worship. And he said, what's wrong with these Vrajavasis? Why are they listening to this foolish, arrogant, over-talkative child? He became offensive. He called Krishna foolish and arrogant and over-talkative. So he said, Samvartaka. He's the cloud of universal devastation. When it's time to destroy the universe, Samvartaka has to come and flood the place. So he called on Samvartaka and all the associating clouds, and they go to Vraj immediately and just drown the whole place. We're going to annihilate all the residents of Vrindavan, including the animals. I mean, he was really like overtaken by extreme anger. So he did that. And you couldn't tell lowlands from highlands, it got so flooded. And the winds were like hurricane force winds, big hailstones. It was hitting, the residents of Vrindavan, the hail. They were painting them. When they were inside their houses, they thought their houses were going to fall down due to hurricane force winds. But then if they went outside, they were getting pelted by, razor sharp hailstones. So all they could do is say, Krishna! As they always do. And Krishna, he understood. And he thought to himself, oh, this is Indra having a temper tantrum. He's just getting angry. And why was he angry? Well, Krishna purposely provoked his anger. Why? Why would you want to make somebody angry? I mean, I've never purposely, I don't think any of us have purposely made somebody angry, but we do inadvertently make people angry or upset or hurt. We have that unfortunate, ability. But to go out of our way to make somebody angry? But Krishna made his whole plan to make Indra angry. And you might say, well, what is it? Yeah, to reveal. Because Pritranaya sadhanam vinashaya chadushkritam. I come to the material world, Krishna says, to uplift, protect, deliver my devotees, and to annihilate the demons. So generally it's like, here's a person he's protecting and saving, and here's a person he's annihilating. But in this Leela, it's all wrapped up into one personality named Indra. Indra is some kind of a devotee. Okay, he's not a Vraj Bhakta, but he's some kind of a devotee. So he wants to purify Indra. And he sees this quality of pride existing in his heart. And Krishna says the demigods are not supposed to be contaminated with pride. So when I sense that there's some pride present, I have to pluck it out. So he was doing a favor to Indra by exposing the fact that he had pride, which leads to anger. Damba, Darpa, Krishna says in 16.4 Bhagavad Gita that there's 6 qualities that are demonic. And it starts with pride. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. Pride is the foundation of all the other anarthas and bad qualities and what have you. So he wanted to purify Indra. And then we all know the story. Krishna decided to lift Govardhan Hill with his little finger of his left hand. All the residents of Vrindavan and the animals came under the umbrella for 7 days and 7 nights. And it took 7 days and 7 nights for Indra to get it through his thick skull that, oh, gosh, I guess Krishna's like something higher and bigger than me. And he finally surrendered and stopped the rain. So this is the lesson of Govardhan Puja, one of the lessons of Govardhan Puja, that Krishna really does want to purify us, even if maybe we don't want to be purified. And we should be grateful. It can be painful, it can be embarrassing. Isn't it embarrassing, for people to see your bad qualities? Oh great, I just revealed to this person or this group of persons or my family or the community, whatever it is, I somehow or other, my bad behavior, qualities, whatever, have been exposed. I can't hide it. And it's embarrassing. It's even painful. But we should actually be grateful that Krishna did that. Even if he had to make some ugly drama to bring it out, we should be grateful that Krishna is exposing our faults, especially pride and anger and arrogance and conceit and harshness and ignorance, because then we can, admit our faults and move on and then eradicate those. So pride is eradicated in only one way. Other faults, let's say I have the fault of overeating. Okay, well, I can make a vow to stop overeating. I just have to discipline myself and, be regulated, and I can overcome my problem of overeating. Well, how do I overcome my problem of pride? Which leads to anger and harshness and all these other things. You can't just say, well, it's starting right now, I'm not going to be proud. No, then you'll just be proud of not being proud. So the only way we can eliminate pride is to constantly hear about the greatness of Krishna and the process of pure devotional service, because it's only in relation to Krishna, relative to Krishna, that our pride can be smashed. Otherwise, we'll always be proud. Pride is the beginning of material life. Pride cometh before the fall. So it's only because I don't truly realize my incredible insignificance in comparison to Krishna that I have pride. So this was Krishna's favor on Indra to smash his pride. Now we'll conclude the chapter by reading the last verse, which doesn't have a purport. Text 34. In the third season of the year, the Lord enjoyed as the central beauty of the assembly of women by attracting them with his pleasing songs in an autumn night brightened by moonshine. And then tomorrow, we'll begin chapter 3, the Lord's pastimes out of Vrindavan. So we'll stop there, see if there's any.
Isn't that some little bitty purport there?
I don't see a purport.
No, it's
Sure.
just the text.
It's just the text.
That's funny, on my phone, there's something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next page. Huh?
Before leaving the land of cows, Vrindavan, the Lord pleased his young girlfriends, the transcendental gopis, in his Rasa Leela pastimes. Here, Uddhava stopped his description of the Lord's activities. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna.
I just looked on the database and there wasn't a purport.
It's amazing how it escaped me there, but anyway, okay, Abhimanyu.
I have a question regarding the topic on, polymorphic monotheism, and how you said that Krishna disperses himself into innumerable forms to control the multiple elements of the material universe. And say you were to
Well,
have...
let me just correct that a little bit.
Okay.
He has multi-forms that perform pastimes. When it comes to controlling the elements of the universe, those are actually jivas, not Vishnu Tattva or expansions or other forms of Krishna, like Indra and Brahma and all this. They're jivas who are empowered by Krishna to do this wonderful, amazing service.
All right.
Okay.
So...
But Hindus misunderstand that and think they're in the category of God.
Yeah. And so if you say you were to tell this to someone who's a monotheistic, a Christian, and you could say their go-to, rebuke would be, well, if he's Krishna, he's the supreme Lord. Why didn't he just, use his true form and control it all himself? And
okay, because Krishna doesn't do any work. See, Krishna's all attractive. Are you attracted to somebody who, I gotta go to work now.
Yeah.
I work 9 to 5, and then I come home, and then I got family responsibilities to do, and on the weekend I've got homework to do, and
yeah.
Or are you attracted to the person who's like, doesn't matter what time of the day it is or what day of the week it is, I just play all day. I'm free, I'm liberated, I just play all day. No responsibilities, no cares, no obligations, I have no boss.
Yeah.
Krishna's all attractive. He doesn't do anything but Madhurya Leela, sweet pastimes. So he does have work to do, though, and that's the difficulty. You have work to do, but right now you're sitting here all chilled out, but now it's time to go to work, so you gotta drive your car to your office. You can't do both at the same time, you're either here or you're there. But Krishna doesn't do that. When he's got the work to do, that's his form of Vishnu. Vishnu is Krishna in work clothes. And Vishnu is dealing with all the material creation and material energy and the living entities. He's in the heart of every living entity. Other expansions. That's why it's polymorphic monotheism, so that his loving Madhurya Leela is never interrupted. Not that, excuse me, girlfriends, I have to go to the office now. We have to stop our loving affairs. I have to go to the office now.
And somehow, if it's the same soul,
Yeah.
in all those forms.
And that's why we don't understand, and therefore we say it's polytheism, because you can't apply material logic.
Yeah, and you said, okay, so the difference between, say, someone like Indra who's and someone who's personally empowered by Krishna himself. What would you refer to Indra? Is he like just someone who's
You could be Indra, just like we just had a presidential election.
Mhm.
You could also vote for senators and whatever.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can run for president.
Mm.
So, but you're not qualified to win any votes. You're not going to win. But Indra's a post, just like president is a post. He has a name, but we generally call him Mr. President.
Yeah.
So in this Manvantar period, Indra's name is Purandar. So there's this guy named Purandar, and he got the job of being Indra because he's so qualified. You didn't get the job, it appears. You're stuck over here on Earth being a paltry human being. But this guy is so, qualified. He's not just the CEO of a big company. He's the king of heaven. So he's in charge of the rain and like that.
Okay.
Big position. You can have that position in the next life if you like, but we wouldn't advise it.
It's
Prabhupada himself warned, it's a dangerous position because then you'll become puffed up. So we have a better job for you. That's called Krishna's eternal servant. Go to Goloka, don't go to some big position.
Yes.
Yogendra Prabhu.
A couple of things. One is that this is Uddhava speaking.
Yeah.
When what's his name? Vidura first inquired from Uddhava. Uddhava fell into trance, and then he revealed some things about Krishna. And it looks like he doesn't really approach Maitreya to the fourth
Okay,
chapter.
thank you.
So sometimes
Thank you for that clarification. I got a little bewildered there, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
sometimes
Uddhava
that,
speaking
yeah.
to Vidura, yeah.
The other thing I had was you were mentioning that the only possibility to become free from pride is to always hear about Krishna. Certainly that's most legitimate. But I'm wondering that there may be a discipline where Lord Chaitanya teaches. He teaches to be pridless. So I'm wondering, couldn't there be a discipline of always trying to be pridless, noticing that, I'm being proud now, Lord Chaitanya teaches I should be pridless, and deliberately trying to avoid becoming proud.
So
And
that's,
of course, we know that hearing about Krishna does that, but then we have to make some effort on our own part
Yeah.
to catch our pride.
yeah, so thank you, I'll make a clarification. It's not just by hearing. Hearing means, when we say we hear, it means it's followed by action. So I can't just on my own say, I'm going to stop being proud. What we can do is by hearing about the greatness of Krishna that we surrender to doing service, and that's the action for becoming prideless. Right? Like, I'm not going to clean the bath. I clean the bathroom? I don't clean the bathroom. I'm a Brahmana. Brahmanas don't get their hands dirty. Ooh, yuck. Who wants to clean the bathroom? Back in the day, when we joined the Hare Krishna temple, that was your first service. Okay, Bhakta X, your service is to clean the public bathroom, the brahmachari or brahmacharini ashram bathroom. Now we expect to have, hired janitors to do it. Ew, me clean the bathroom? That's below me. you know? So we get rid of pride by doing menial service. Menial service to the deity, menial service to the guru, menial service to the initiated Vaishnavas, menial service to the newcomers who come to the temple. Menial service in connection with Krishna. And if we're not doing menial service, or we don't want to do menial service, we have a lousy service attitude, it means we're not hearing properly. Academically, oh yeah, I just finished Srimad Bhagavatam, now I'm on Chaitanya Charitamrita. But our service attitude hasn't improved. So nothing gets you back to Godhead except service attitude. That's what love is, right? Those of you who have children, love is a service attitude. It's the pinnacle of the service attitude. But I can't do that. Ew, clean the bathroom, change a baby's diaper, ew. Wash the floor, ew. You know? So without doing that, don't expect to get rid of pride. You can say, I'm not going to be proud, but you're acting proud by refusing to do those services. Or not volunteering. You know, how much brains does it take when you walk into a place and it's dirty just to pick up the proper paraphernalia and clean it? Why do we have to be told to clean up? So service attitude, humility, pridelessness.
Just something I always think about with the Govardhan Leela is like how strong Yogamaya is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just so absurd. He picked up a mountain. Like, that's not how mountains work. Like, you can't just pick up a piece of the earth and do that. And none of the Rajavasis were even like this is insane. He just like broke the laws of physics. It's crazy. They just thought like, oh, it's so heavy. I better get my stick and help him like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like you can't just pick up a hill. It won't work.
Right. That's why Krishna's Leelas are called. He has 4 qualities that separate him from all other entities, even all other Vishnu tattvas. One is his Madhurya Venu, his sweet flute playing. Madhurya Rupa, his sweet form. Madhurya Prema, always surrounded by loving devotees. But the Madhurya Leela, that is, Leelas are not only amazing and superhuman, but they're so sweet. Precisely for that reason, because they don't obey the laws of physics.
Yeah, if someone did that in front of me, I would immediately be like, all right, this person's probably God. You know, I wouldn't
Right,
just
faith.
be like,
Yeah, right.
wow, it's amazing.
Right, and it took Indra 7 days to figure that out.
Yeah.
So it's Madhurya Leela. It's so sweet. Krishna.
When you were mentioning about pride, not to be proud, so I watch sometimes those videos that Vishak has kindly given us, and it comes to my mind where Prabhupada would constantly say, don't be proud. And an example I was thinking was, he sometimes gives is when you have a certain service you do, whether you're kirtaniya or you're doing some kind of service, and you shouldn't think, oh, I've done this so nicely, I've done this so, and so then there won't be the chance of advancement in our spiritual progress if we're thinking, this is great what I'm doing right now. I've done this very, that's very good,
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I was.
Yeah, we can become proud in Krishna's service. Right?
Sure.
Happens all the time. Okay, so I'll stop there. Granthar Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai,
Ki jai.
Govardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Everybody notice how beautiful like Jagannath is?
Yeah.
So
Outstanding.
sweet. So sweet. I don't think I've ever seen him look so cute.
Partha made the turban.
Yeah, I know.
He's learned from his mom.
And then he's like, yeah, she was here. And then Maharani just painting him so beautifully, and that dress is so cute. His little nose ring is so cute.